Welcome to Real Lives Touched by Addiction podcast with your hosts, Jen McCutcheon, Loughlin, Lainne Love, and Sandra Murray. This podcast exists to bring truth, compassion, and real solutions to conversations around addiction that family, communities, and systems have avoided for far too long. Addiction isn't just an individual struggle. It's a family, community, and generational issue. And too many are navigating it in silence, feeling overwhelmed and alone. Through real stories, lived experience, trauma-informed insight, and evidence-based frameworks, we're exploring the most misunderstood truths about addiction and family healing. And you're invited to join us. Listen, reflect, and take a small but powerful step towards real change. So let us begin. Hello, welcome back to Real Lives Touched by Addiction. We are jumping in here. I am your host, Jen McCutcheon. And yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since we've been on here. Life, as we said last time, keeps lifing. But we are back. We are here. We are ready to continue this conversation, really amplifying truth around the impacts of addiction and mental health on all parties touched by addiction. So we're going to jump in. Today, our theme is we're going to talk about burnout from active addiction, burnout from family members that are impacted by addiction, just life in general. I mean, take a look around the world right now. There's a lot of stuff going on and burnout is real. So we're going to jump in and just talk about that and show you what burnout looks like for each of us, some of the patterns that we've found in our own journeys and tangible solutions so that you can take these and try them for yourself and see what works for you and know that you're not alone, because we are all here recovering from something and we recover and heal better together. So I'm going to pass it over to either Sandra or Luke, whoever wants to start here, and let's share away.
Wow. Okay. Well, I could start. I'm Sandra Murray. I'm a mom who's been touched by addiction. For our new listeners, I did lose my son last year to addiction, sadly. But I learned so much. I look back and I am just grateful for everything I learned. And one of the things I learned that was the most important is self-care and self-love. Because when I neglect myself, that's when my burnout happens. And I was saying this earlier, I find that emotional burnout is more draining to me than physical burnout. Physical, it's just like your mental health with your brain health is very hard to diagnose mental health disorders. Whereas with your physical health, you have a broken arm, they know to put a cast on it. And so I find that burnout with my mental burnout is exhausting. And a big thing for me is recognizing when it's happening and stopping it in its tracks, because it is so easy to keep going when I'm at that point where if I don't make that decision, the universe will make it for me, and something will happen that will stop me and force me to take that mental health day or whatever it is that I need. That's just a little bit to start us off. If you want to share,
Well, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Sandra, while with you just sharing, because I hear you. Can you think of a time where you didn't recognize that you were reaching that point of breakdown? Because I know for me and like the breakdown is where the awakening normally happens, right? Where you're like, oh shit, I pushed too far and now I'm here. But it for most of us, it takes us hitting that breaking point, rock bottom,
right.
Pivot, turning point. I like to call a whole bunch of different names for it. But can you think of an example to share and what it was that actually woke you up? Because I know for me, and I know for our listeners, it's like, how do I know? Like, how do I know when I'm just, because we have this concept that we're giving up, or we're too soft. Other people can do it. Why can't
Mm,
I? Like there's all these things that keep us
yeah,
moving and stuck in this cycle because we think somehow we're not measuring up. So it's cool
right.
to give an example if you have one.
Yeah, you know what, what's come to mind, and it was during a time where I was taking care of myself. This was in 2023, and I was getting these really weird symptoms. And long story short, I had open heart surgery. And because I was self-aware, I was able to recognize the slightest change in my physical. And it was like a pinched nerve on my right shoulder. And my right arm was a bit numb. And I justified it because the weekend before we were at a party, and I'm like, okay, maybe I did something. And then I felt nauseous, and I literally asked my partner to Google symptoms for a heart attack for females. And I'm here to tell people it is very different. It isn't the tightness of the chest. It isn't necessarily the left side of your arm. It is nausea, very tired. And I was, for that week, I was so extremely tired and I didn't rest. But I am grateful that I was aware enough that I went to the hospital. And at some point between my home and getting to the second hospital where I had my surgery, apparently I did have a massive heart attack. And I was 60 years old, and I was grateful that I was alive because my father passed away of one heart attack when he was 54. So I'm saying this because I think I needed to slow down. And what I learned is that, and at that point, Ben was in his active addiction. I was his go-to person whenever he needed to talk or he needed something. I was his go-to person. Well, all of a sudden, I'm having this heart surgery and I need to take care of myself. He still went on with his life. What I learned is that he didn't need me as much as I thought he needed me.
Mhm.
Right. So I was like
Yeah.
out for like 6 weeks. You can't do anything when you've had your chest cracked open. So for 6 weeks, I did nothing. Like, it wasn't until a couple weeks in that I actually spoke to him. Ironically, he was in the hospital at the same time I was in a different hospital because his body shut down. And so I couldn't even visit him. But what did I learn? I learned that life still goes on and that my son still survived everything that he was going through without me.
Powerful.
Yeah. And so that was my self-care is like, whoa. And that's when I started saying nothing is an emergency. Nothing. We
Yes.
may think it is. And with my son, he had so many overdoses that I was dealing with life and death with him, but I didn't look at it as an emergency anymore. It wasn't for me to fix. And then there's that whole spiritual side of my beliefs is that he's on his journey and I'm on my journey. And he knows that I love him and that I would support him in anything when it came to recovery. And I did, and I'm thankfully have no regrets. But that was a real eye opener. And so it just shows that our bodies are listening to our emotional well-being and our stresses, and we do carry it in certain areas. And as a Reiki healer myself, I know when you block that chakra, there's a reason. It's not just because you stretched wrong and you pulled something. There's more behind it,
The
I believe.
somatics, and this is,
Exactly.
yeah,
My heart was broken with everything I was going through with my son, and
yeah,
so hence the
yeah.
heart,
The
right?
heart,
The
exactly. The
heart.
heart center. Like people
Hmm.
think they're having heart attacks, and yes, sometimes it's things that are, lifestyle and
Yes, and
foods
there's genetics
but
with me, and
genetics. There is, but
yes,
genetics is even often a small percentage compared
yes,
to how we are treating ourselves and how we are processing the energetics of upsets and sadness. If we're not processing our upsets and our
right.
sadness, it leads to disease, disease in all shapes and sizes and forms.
Perfect example.
Yeah, exactly. So wow, wow, wow. And
Yeah.
what a beautiful teaching moment for you to be able to come
Oh,
to recognize
goosebumps.
all of that.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get goosebumps while I talk. I didn't expect to be talking about this today, but I am chilling right now because it is such a reminder that life goes on outside of my bubble. But if I am not healthy, then I cannot help anyone.
Yeah, it's not just a cliche.
No, it is
It's not just
not.
a
It is
cliche.
not.
We
I've
say
lived
it, we
it.
hear it all the time, and yet we
Yeah.
don't live by it
Yeah.
because we are programmed to always be on the go. It's like if we're not
Yeah.
doing, there's something wrong with us. We're not keeping up to, the Joneses or the whatevers. We're always in this
Right.
comparison and referencing, and that's what's really making a lot of people sick. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that, Sandra. Powerful, powerful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow. All right. Well,
Top
I guess
that
I'll
one,
jump
Luke.
there. Top that one, Luke.
Top that one.
For any new listeners, I'm Luke Loughlin. I am alcoholic addict in recovery. I know sometimes labeling is not a big thing. For me, I had so much shame with denying that I was an alcoholic and an addict, where now I do kind of say it in a way of taking that power back. I'm not in active addiction with those substances, but it is in hopes if there's other people that feel that shame around it, that they can see somebody say it. And it's not who I am. It's a piece of my past. But yeah, this burnout thing. Well, if we talk about when I was in active addiction, I was constantly burned out.
Mhm.
It's pretty much a life of burnout. But in recovery, I've been in recovery for 6 years, had a relapse, so I'm coming up to 3 years again. And I think I was talking to somebody the other day. It's like when I first ever stepped into recovery, tried to if I tried to put if I tried to write out in a list of things that like I would hope to get back or get into my life, I would have shortchanged myself because I'm
Mm.
beyond blessed with the things that are in my life today with family. Created a painting company called Recovery Painting, very involved in recovery meetings. This podcast, involved in a church community that I love dearly, that loves me. But what we've been talking about is the things that I started doing recovery, which was, starting to take care of myself, working in program of recovery, things to help me mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I had steady routines, and there was a time where I didn't work that much with certain situations I was in, but now work's on the go, commitments are on the go, family, all these different things. And I just experienced like going into a burnout a couple weeks ago, and where I found it was in my back. That's something I learned actually on my journey, is that our body like keeps a score. Our mind and our body are
Mm.
connected. And I thought that was hocus pocus before I got into recovery. Like if people talked about it, but I noticed as the busyness of life would go, and work and getting jobs and doing these other commitments, I was starting to, mail in certain exercises that I would do. I was starting to mail in my morning routine here and there. And like you were talking about, Jen and Sandra, like the go, go, go. And if we're not sitting, like if we're not doing anything, then we're not being productive. And I can get lost in that, like
Mm.
subconsciously. And like I was telling you guys earlier, I got out of bed one day and my lower back was just, I could almost barely breathe. And it's one of those signs telling me that, maybe you need to like slow down a little bit and kind of assess your life again, because burnout for me could also go in a way. I could already feel it. I was starting to like, my diet was off. I was starting to get irritated and agitated and stressed. And my mind's like, go, 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 go. Where I took some time off work to, start doing some stretches, start walking a bit more, a couple days off work to do that, and talking to people about it, and getting intentional with my morning routine, with my meditation and my prayer, and making sure I'm getting healthy, nutrients into me. But it's almost like when you stop doing certain things over your routine and you let like the
Mm.
busyness of life go, it's hard to get back into it and pick it up. But I
Yeah.
know if I look in the rearview mirror when I first got sober, it took just little steps to get to where I was. And like all I'm pretty much doing now is what made me feel better and what made me feel good in recovery. Well, it was when I took a little bit of time to exercise, when I took a bit of time to journal, when I took a bit of time to meditate and pray. And so the solution for that burnout has been getting back into certain routines, but also setting boundaries for myself. I'm a big people pleaser. I love to say yes to things when really I should be saying no. And that was something I was finding myself doing again and starting to almost resent the things that I was doing. So number one, the awareness that I got from it, talked to some people, made a plan of what I was going to do, getting back into certain routines. I'm also cutting ties with a few different commitments and certain relationships in my life that aren't serving me or the people that are involved. Because I got to take care of myself. Because if I do get into a full-blown burnout, who knows where that can lead to? Maybe drinking, maybe to doing drugs again.
Mm,
Because it always starts with me now. Food, overeating can start coming in. Start eating junk food, start smoking, and then also like I'll say it vulnerable, but like then thoughts, lustful thoughts, like that's where like sex addiction can start coming back into my life, right? And so the awareness, I have to take actions to keep going forward. So I'm here. If I'm not good to myself, I'm not good to my family, and I'm not good to anybody. I'm trying to help. And that's my little experience with some burnout, getting close to it and in it and coming out of it.
That's awesome. I loved
yeah.
your share. I loved, just
Mhm.
you giving tangible examples too, like morning routines. Oh my gosh, like that is a non-negotiable for me. It doesn't mean that it's like a long routine every morning. Sometimes it's shorter than others depending on my time, but it's like there's specific things that I do every morning to start my day, and that has been a game changer for me. And being able to witness your patterns and see where you're starting to go off track, right? I wanted to actually just comment on right when you started. I wrote it down because you introduced yourself. I'm an addict, recovering addict, and how you basically were like, I know that that might not be what, because there's this controversy about saying I'm an addict. Hi, I'm Luke. I'm an addict. Hi, I'm Jen. I'm a codependent, or I'm codependent, like whatever it is, I'm an enabler. These are, there's a lot of,
Labels.
labels, but conversations about you should or shouldn't use those words, right? And
Mm,
I'm all about, I just wanted to touch on it. This could be a whole topic that we talk about, because I
yeah.
really think that this is an important conversation to
Yes.
have. And my thoughts on it, Luke, is, man, if it helps you, that's all that matters. You get
Yeah.
to use whatever, and use whatever your recovery tool is to help you stay
Mhm.
on the path to healing, recovery, and living the life that you deserve and desire to live. And if those of you who are listening, if it feels stigmatizing to you, don't use it. I
Mhm.
feel like there,
Mhm.
one
Right.
size does not fit all applies
Mhm.
to this, because I'm getting the same thing with, families, enabling is stigmatizing. We don't use the word codependent. And I'm like, well, we cannot use the word, but we're still be using the behavior. So
Right.
how about we just think more about the behavior behind the word? It's not a label. I am not codependent. I'm experiencing the behavior of codependency. But if I
Yeah.
want to say I'm codependent, then, and that helps me to process what I'm experiencing, to stop it, to spot it and stop it, then I'm going to use it. And I think that we should all be able to use those, and just,
Yeah.
drop the need to feel attacked when somebody says it. If it works for you,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
celebrating that for you.
Yeah. Right. This
Amen.
could be we could
A
probably
whole
do a
topic.
whole episode
Yeah.
on this stuff because
Absolutely.
it's like I've heard some like people go at it over this, and it's like, man,
No.
if how that person's introducing themselves or say it, like if it's helping them, like, and anyways, I might not
Yeah.
be doing drugs and alcohol, but like, what about the three McDonald's cheeseburgers late at night that I stop by and I can't get enough of? Like overeating, or
Yeah.
whether it's porn, like you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like there's addictive behaviors that still pop up in my life. So if I'm
Here's a
gonna
topic.
say no, I don't call myself an alcoholic in recovery or an addict in recovery. Like there's still addictive behaviors that pop up. And I don't, it's not all of me, but there
Yeah.
is this piece of me that I love to stay aware of because it almost killed me.
Yeah.
Amen.
So I never want to forget where I've come from and where I can still go.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Never forget where we came from. It doesn't define who we are,
Yeah.
but it helps us to be our best version today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
You
Well
got really
said.
fired up there.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. So burnout for me, I'm like, I'm the queen of burnout. I'm the queen of burnout. I mean, I mean, I can think of so many times that I've experienced burnout and in different capacities, but mostly it was like when I think of like one thing that kept popping up when you guys were sharing was I remember an incident. So my first or second husband was in active like alcoholism, high functioning, but like it was just intense. My son was struggling with his addiction, not living at home, but chronic crises, and two other teenagers in the house. Working, trying to balance it all, and not doing a very good job at any of it, and continuing to try to show up. I wasn't sleeping well at night, but through the day, I was like needing to nap because I was just pure exhaustion. Um, my tendency is to not eat when I'm really, really stressed. Which weirdly, again, when I was really, really stressed and not eating, I was actually gaining weight. So go figure. If most people lose weight, of course I had to gain weight. It's like, come on, at least give me,
Right.
at least give me that.
Throw me a bone.
Right. So, and I had literally body rashes. I had open wounds, one on my arm and on my shin, because of the stress. It was stress. I didn't recognize it then. I was like cortisol creams, but again, even then I was like, oh, I don't know, something's going on. But it was like literally stress trying to ooze its way out of my body because there was just way too much energy that was not was low, like really low frequency energy. So those are just some examples of how burnout was showing up for me. But I remember taking my daughter, driving her over to a friend's one night, dropping her off, and we were sitting in the car, and I remember her, like, we were just talking, and I remember her looking at me going like, Mom, you can't keep doing this. Like you can't keep doing this, Mom. And I remember looking at her, and I just remember saying, I feel like I'm like a shriveled up rose. Like I just feel like there's nothing left. And it was such an interesting moment because when she was looking at me going, you can't keep doing this, it was this moment of like, what am I teaching my daughter? What am I teaching my daughter? I am teaching her to like completely sacrifice herself, abandon herself for everybody else. And it was just this moment of clarity, like, what the hell am I doing?
Right.
And it was such a turning point for me. And it didn't mean that I bounced back really quickly, but it started to make me go, where am I giving away my energy? Like, I don't want to be a shriveled up rose dying. I don't want, and actually in my programs, I use this rose to help its rose recovery. But, a shriveled up rose is constriction, is low frequency energy. When we're living in chronic stress, fear, shame, guilt, apathy, it's like we're living in this constricted, like just this dying. We're literally dying. And it's that rose, it's a mental thing for me. And then when I'm living expanded and when I'm living in alignment and I'm taking care of myself and I'm loving myself, then I'm the blooming rose. I'm this beautiful rose with these velvet petals that are open and expanded. So I had to really take accountability for myself, but also what I was reflecting to my daughter, what I was showing her. So that really helped me to be like, okay, I don't want to be that version of me. So what do I have to do to become the version of me that I want to be, and the representation of what self-love, self-care, self-worth looks like. So I had to do, one of the biggest things for me is, what I'm working on even now in a big way, in a bigger way, is discernment. Like what is for me and what isn't for me. And this is why I touched on the addict, not addict terminology, because it's like, what works for me is what is in alignment with me. How does it feel in my body? So I started to get into that. And people hear this, it's either a hell yes or a hell no. Well, what if you're always getting, I don't know?
Yeah.
And that I
Yeah.
lived my life. I don't
Right.
know. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I don't know what my desires are. I don't know what's important to me. I don't know what my value. I didn't know anything. I was living based on somebody else's importance, somebody else's values, somebody
Yeah.
else's concept of self-care and self-love. So this is what I really feel
Mm.
about burnout. It is a representation of our inner belief systems.
Mm.
So to me, self-care is,
Mm.
yes, doing meditation. I used to meditate 2, 3, 4 hours a day for periods of time.
Wow.
And I love my meditations, but I've actually backed off going, I still do meditation, but they're all good. Meditation, breath work, emotional freedom
Yeah.
technique, you name it, somatic, shaking, all these different beautiful tools. But if we're not processing and loving ourselves to witness what's happening in our mind, we're going to continue to experience burnout. And I still do. I still get caught up in work because I love it and not being able to pull myself back. But it's a pattern of looking for value through work. So codependency still shows up in my work, where I have to pull back and go, okay, why am I doing this? Why do I feel like if I don't, there's something wrong with me, which is one of my core commands. If I take a break and I take a couple of days off, Luke, I'm sitting there thinking, why can't I keep up like everybody else?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the self-care that I think is missing in a lot of people. We do all the things a lot of people are doing the meditations and the breath works and those things, but they're still hurting and they're still they're still in these cycles. So, it's recognizing the patterns of thoughts in the mind that are creating the reality through the actions and the decisions that you're making.
Mhm.
Yeah. Great,
Yeah.
great points, Jen. And what came to me while you were talking is that mindfulness was a big part of my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a mindfulness course in the 90s. And one of the things that I learned back then that I still use today is like slowing down does not mean we're not being productive. And that is something that I had to rewire.
Yes.
And at the time, my kids were in elementary school, single mom, and in the mornings were always chaos. I got to hurry up, and oh my gosh, we got to go, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the cereal would be spilled. We'd forget a backpack. And so this one class, it's like, we'll try to slow down and see what happens. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it. Well, my energy changed, which in turn, my kids' energy shifted. And I got up a little bit earlier and got everything prepared. I still did my due diligence. You still have to do your due diligence, but I slowed it down. There wasn't spilt milk when we were going out the door. We didn't
Yeah.
forget the backpack. And my kids were more relaxed and we were more productive. And I'm like,
100%.
this works.
Mhm.
I'm slowing down in the mornings and we're getting to school on time. There was less stress. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were still some of those days, but then I always had my daughter who I always say she came into my life to keep me grounded because if I started, she's like, well, what's this all about? What's going on? I'm like, you're right. And but slowing down, being mindful does not mean you're being productive. In fact, it's the complete opposite.
Yes. And that's the universal flow. It's like when I'm out of alignment with my values, with what's important, that's when I'm heading towards burnout. When I am
Yes.
when I am forcing, and this is so classic for addiction and family members
Yeah.
and individuals impacted by addiction, when we're trying to force an outcome, make something
Yes.
happen, we
Yeah.
are heading for disaster because we are out of
Mhm.
alignment with flow. When we're in flow, and when we actually, so this is my
Yeah.
reprogramming too, Sandra, and I think
Mm-hmm.
most of us, it's like when I actually give myself space and create space for myself to just be and not have to do, I actually sink into this energetic alignment, and all of a sudden everything is comes to me. It's like this beautiful,
Yes.
like magnetism that starts to flow. And I always say, you know, there's nothing to do. I just have to be, surrender and trust, and let flow come to me. That's my mantra. It's
Amen.
Yeah.
And I catch myself all the time being pulled out of flow, because we're living in a time where there's so much distraction, so much conditioning, that everywhere you turn, it's so easy to get pulled out of your flow, your alignment. So it's like that mindfulness. And what do you do to bring yourself back to flow? So literally, I'm practicing like almost on an hourly basis, taking like 2-3 minutes and just centering and pulling my energy back to me, coming back into alignment. And sometimes I'll lay on the floor like starfish, just like surrendering.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
It doesn't
I
take
love
long.
that.
Yeah, just pull it back.
These are great tools. These are really great tools of how to get out of that vortex of messiness and burnout. And I just want to say one other thing I wrote down, you know, a line that I've heard all my life: stress is the silent killer. It's no longer silent if we listen and if we be. We have now learned over the years that stress affects our physical, right? Hence my heart, hence the rash, hence all these things. It's no longer silent if we're listening.
But that's where the being, we are beings, and we're human beings. We're missing the be. We're always doing. We're not being. And being is in just being able to just be, sit and watch the birds, sit and whatever, have a cup of tea, sit in quiet for just a little bit.
Okay.
Woo.
I know.
Yeah. Everybody wants to escape because it's like loud. You try and like sit still for a minute and you're like got so many thoughts running through your head, and nobody knows, a lot of people don't know how to a solution to work through that. Like the most things like, hey, what can I do to just feel? What can I do to feel better? What can I do to feel better?
I think one of the things when I'm sitting and trying to be and trying to rejuvenate myself is when those thoughts come up, it's usually, oh, I should be doing this. And I've learned if that word should comes into the sentence, I'm just going to delete it. Delete it for now.
Thanks for sharing.
Delete. Because it's what do I need and what do I want to do? Not what I should do or I have to do. I need to eat to survive. I would like to do this. And if it's something that, you know, when I throw that word should, it's like, do I really need to do that? And half the time I don't. Sometimes I do, I may need to do something, but most often when it's I should be cleaning the house or something, you know, ridiculous. Like, well, no, I don't have to do that. I do it when I'm ready. And right now, what's important is just being.
Yeah. For sure. And you're right, Luke. It is just we're living in a world of escapism, and it's really hard for people to be. And that's why we are experiencing this incredible rise of mental health and addiction and suicide, because of this is a deep programming. And there's more and more people that are starting to awaken to, they don't like how they're feeling and wanting to change. And that's why we're here having these real raw conversations, to bring these conversations to you, the listener, to help you recognize you're not alone. We're all experiencing these same things in slightly different ways. And we're here to share our stories, the things where we have learned these beautiful lessons. We're still continuing to learn because we're still on this journey of healing and recovering our true selves, to break free from the patterns and the cycles that aren't serving us, so that we can heal and rise and recover together. So, you know, we're so grateful for everybody that is joining us. If you're finding value in this podcast, please hit subscribe. You can find all the links and everything in the show notes. Come and join us on our social medias. Check out the websites. There's free resources in there for you. If you have a question, if you have a topic that you want us to cover, send us an email at reallivestba@gmail.com. Perfect.
TBA, Touched by Addiction.
And we are checking those emails. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your stories because your story matters. And we would love to share your story on the podcast so that we can help others learn through you, because that really is our greatest offering, is to share our stories so that somebody else can see themselves in your story and create the change that they need to make. So thank you for joining us in this beautiful conversation today. Thank you, Luke and Sandra, for all that you shared. And just reminding everybody that you are not alone. We heal, we rise, and we recover better together. We'll see you next time.
Bye for now. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for being part of Real Lives Touched by Addiction podcast. If this episode moved something within you, please subscribe and leave a rating or review. It helps these conversations reach the hearts that need them most. We're also inviting you to connect with us. Our social links are in the show notes. Follow us, come say hi, and share your story. We truly want to hear from you because your story carries wisdom, your voice carries medicine, and your purpose is already unfolding. Until next time, remember, you are not alone. We heal, rise, and recover better together.